When you put your legs behind your head, you don't become a more loving person. The two are not correlated. And what is more important in life is the ability to look around you and to put love and beauty and caring into the world.
Oh,
Oh,
that moved me a little.
it's the truth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It moved me like this
Okay,
much, just a little bit.
just a little bit. Hi, Ray. This is Burbujita saying hi to her
Zora,
little Osita. No, that's Zorro, right?
Zora, this one's Zora. Uso's over there.
Yes,
Oh, look at
okay.
that. She just had a fresh haircut, I can tell.
Yes, she did. But
Oh,
anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today we're gathering here because I have so many questions
oh
about this
boy.
subject where Rae Indigo is an expert. The video is about to start. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. There we go! Let me introduce you to Rae. Rae is the founder of the World Yoga Institute, and she's an international yoga expert. Rae Indigo, I know her for so many years, and she's always, tried for me to understand yoga, and somehow I'm kind of like never ready until today. Today, really, I just like summoned myself, and I have so many questions for her. So
Excellent. Well, I'm really looking forward to your questions, and I'm happy that you finally decided that you're interested in yoga. But can you tell me, like, why? What changed? Why now you're all of a sudden interested in yoga?
well, it's because I have the YouTube channel, and we have many subjects, and one of my playlists is called Spiritualish. Not spiritual,
I like that.
spiritualish.
Spiritual-ish. That's great.
Yes. So, and in there, I have already astral traveling. I have meditation. I have Akashic records. I have a couple of things.
Oh,
So I
sounds
thought, you
really
know what? And my commitment is normal people. Like this is not for yogis. Like this is for a normal person that would tune into my channel, for a regular TikToker per se. And they're like, "What the hell is yoga?" They don't know. They heard about it, but in this video, we're gonna demystify what yoga is, and
I would
it's
love
not.
to. Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay. So, Rae Indigo, I have so many questions. So, the first one would be, when we think about yoga, and this is like my own personal elaborated question, right? Like when we think about yoga, you think immediately about about extreme heat. You think about all these complicated positions, like all these yoga people, they're trying to impress people with like putting their hair between their crotches and you know
A lot of crotch in yoga now.
but you know what I'm saying, it's like so weird. And so anyway, so also you see people with these Lululemon outfits, and what what is all this about, and what is really yoga about? Because this is the marketing that all of the people has given to yoga, but
Okay.
is that what you really want to portray, or
Well, first I would like to say there's nothing wrong with having a beautiful body and wearing tight clothes, and there's nothing wrong with being a stripper and calling yourself a yoga teacher. It's fine. As you wish, make your art in the world. There's nothing wrong with this.
of
But
course?
yeah, it's totally fine. And I love beautiful everything. But the science of yoga, what yoga actually is a series of practices that take the physical body, energetic body, mental body, and the subtle bodies, and essentially clarify and purify those so that the light of the spirit can shine through into your life. Yeah, and so this is what's known as liberation and unification, where you as the spirit actually take control of your life and the space around you and what you put out into the world, and how to do that without being compulsive, and your past lives influence you heavily. So it's a beautiful, beautiful art form, and only one little part has to do with the body, which is preparing. It's like preparing the space for the other practices. So a nice way to think of this is like, imagine, Gustavo, that you were going to have a dinner party, and you're inviting 10 friends over, and you went grocery shopping and all of this. It's really important that you prepare the space, that you clean up, that you make the table nice. 'Cause if you have like piles of newspaper and piles of clothes and everything's dirty and dusty, and your guests come over, you're not going to be able to relax and cook and serve them. So the house cleaning is what the physical postures are. And the problem that's happened in yoga is that people have mistaken the house cleaning, the physical postures, for the dinner party. And they never get to the event. So they're just stuck in cleaning the house without getting the actual internal practices. And they don't require that you have a body that's flexible. It's nice to be in a body that's healthy, but it's not a requirement for attaining higher states. It is nice, just like being in a clean house is nice.
Okay, so then in a sentence, what is yoga?
Yoga is the series of practices which put the spirit back in charge of the life.
Beautiful. Okay, it sounds like we all should be doing yoga then.
Everybody should be doing yoga, which doesn't necessarily mean you're putting all your legs behind your head and all of it. You can. That is a part of it, but not a very important part, actually.
Got it. Okay.
So let me touch on this just a little bit.
Yes.
more. When you put your legs behind your head, you don't become a more loving person. The two are not correlated. And what is more important in life is the ability to look around you and to put love and beauty and caring into the world.
Oh, that moved me a little.
It's true.
Yeah.
It moved me like this much, just a little bit.
Just a little. And there is a question about all that, but anyway, so the second question is, every time I have tried yoga, I go to a beginner's class, what they call it beginners, and then I go in and I go to the class, and everybody's super more advanced than me, and I feel ridiculous. Well, of course, it's what I make it mean, and what my own judgment of myself and my comparison to others. I know all that, but anyway, I haven't yet found a group class that is for beginners. Usually they make these classes be like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I thought this was a beginner class, and I get turned off, and then I disappear from yoga for years.
Of course. So let's understand what's happening. The physical practices which are currently being taught basically come from Ashtanga yoga, which turned into power yoga, which turned into Vinyasa yoga, and was then influenced by Iyengar yoga. And all of these practices were created less than 150 years ago by a famous teacher known as Krishnamacharya. And so he taught the most famous teachers that brought things to the West now. Now here's the difficulty, is that most of these poses were designed for a different body type. So people in India and Asia, they spend a lot more time squatting. They sit on the floor. They have flexible hips and hamstrings. They don't lose their flexibility. So those poses make sense for that body and that culture. And a lot of them are actually designed for young boys. So in case you haven't noticed, most of the people doing yoga are generally over 30. And the poses that are used are intermediate to advanced. And they call them beginner level because they don't know how to modify. They don't know how to change poses for Western bodies. And this is one of the things that I've brought to yoga, which is all of this therapeutic application. And as well, like looking at the directions of mobility of the joint and really being precise and moving like small pose by small pose. So the reason why these classes are so advanced is the teachers were trained in the old style, and they were trained to memorize, not to build poses. It's a very different training. So if you learn how to build an asana, then you can look at anybody and say, you know exactly which variation is correct for that body. Instead of trying to fit the person to yoga, you fit yoga to the person.
Wow, Ray. This is so. I wish there would be more people like you around.
I am online, so you can practice with me there. And I do have therapeutic classes, which are everybody can do them. Everybody can.
Wow.
There are multiple levels at a time, so you just offer different variations. But I
Mm-hmm.
also use poses that most people don't know, stuff for the arms that are not known, variations that are really powerful for people who sit too much in chairs, which is the Western body.
Got it. Okay. So number 3, um, where did yoga start? I mean,
Ah,
just the where,
where?
not the history. That's another question.
Okay, in the Himalayas. So the old, like what you think of when you say yoga is body shapes, but the yoga came from the Vedas and the Upanishads, and
Mm-hmm.
essentially a high practice of clearing the mind of its latent impressions so that the spirit, known as Brahman or Atman, can literally shine through the being into the world around them. So
How
it has,
beautiful.
yeah, it's a beautiful practice. And as that came through humanity for the last 5,000 years, we've seen many different schools, some that focus more on meditation, some on things like astral travel, some on chakras and energetics, some on the physical. But really, it's an entire body of work. And to be a real yogi, you have to know all the levels of practice.
Okay, so basically yoga started in the Himalayas.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it started in India, but the practice of yoga also is influenced by Chinese martial arts, qigong. So they're not separate. All of these internal practices
Mm-hmm.
from this eastern area of the world, they migrated, and so the earliest that we find is stuff 5,000 years ago. But for sure, that was not the beginning of humans knowing what they are.
Okay,
Yeah, this
got
is just
it.
a study of self. So it's nothing that's not you. It's nothing that you have to learn. It's actually a process of unlearning, of you returning to your natural or native state of liberation.
I love you. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty good,
Um,
you know? Just go get back to your superpowers.
yeah. We have to say this because if it wasn't for them, we couldn't do what we do. This video is brought to you by Gustavo Briand Studio, where hair for ladies and gentlemen becomes high art, located in the heart of Miami Beach, Florida, and Sultry Eyes Lash Studio, dedicated to bring out the goddess out of every woman, now located inside Gustavo Briand's studio. The Briand siblings doing their best work together. If you are in the area of Miami Beach, please check the website, book your appointment. The website is here below, and let's get this started. And South Beach Charity Angels. South Beach Charity Angels is our own charity, and it operates here in Miami, Florida. If you want to know more, read the website. Thank you very much for watching. So, for example, in these Western countries, I elaborated these questions before I knew all this, obviously. So, for example, in India, does the majority of people they do practice yoga, or this is something that, for example, let's say, like they don't do anymore? It's like when you go to Peru, the Inca land, and you would think everybody would speak Quechua and eat, whatever, like they have completely westernized. So is this the same in India? Like, does everybody do yoga, or has been forgotten a little?
There's a big revival now in India of yoga and actually kind of return the practices to. So a lot of Indian teachers learn from Western teachers now. And so there's a big movement for Indian teachers to kind of reclaim their practice. But the difficulty is that the physical yogas have actually been developed by Westerners. So
Right.
yeah, they started with the East. They started with Krishnamacharya, and that migrated to the West. The West took the physical practices and brought in aspects of gymnastics, functional training, martial arts, and Western anatomy and alignment. It's actually a good thing because they,
Right, for others, not for me.
well,
But for me too, I'm sure. Yeah.
If you do my therapeutic practices, you will love it. It's a whole different thing. But it's actually a good thing because you have to realize that in India, that in the past there wasn't this idea of a care to not injure. It was either you could do it or you didn't. And so a lot of bodies were broken. And so what happened in the West that's actually very beautiful is that this idea of kind of caretaking the body in this specific way to create space and stability was improved a lot by Western science. And now it's returning back to India, and the spirituality, which is actually the most important part, is coming back. So what we see is there's a dialogue of yoga, because yoga is everywhere in the world. So it's no longer just an Indian thing. There's a conversation between the South American practitioners, the North American practitioners, the European practitioners. Everybody's contributing to a body of work to create more well-being in humanity, which is really the goal, and why yoga was brought to the West, was to have it spread. So it's quite beautiful, and you're seeing a lot of. I actually have a lot of students from India, and I feel I find that a huge compliment. And I have never been to India. I'm totally have not.
This is so ironic, right? Because you have been all over the world. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know this woman, she literally has been all over the world, and she teaches all over the world. But I mean, there is a reason that you have not yet gone there, and you will go at the right time.
Because I've been busy bringing yoga to places that didn't have it, or helping them to improve the yogic sciences. And I've been studying since I was very, very young. So, at the end of the day, it's not just yoga. It's also, Zen meditation, all the martial arts, all of these things that create a powerful being that can exist in a radiant way. Every single spiritual teaching that brings that about, from Kabbalah to Qigong, I'm interested in, and parts of that show up in what I share.
Okay. So next question would be, why and how yoga started? I think you kind of touched it.
The very high level enlightened beings trying to find a way to uplift humanity and kind of remove the things that are not them, the shadows that sit on you, which we have a lot of different names for. We could call them your memories, we could call them traumas, we could call them latent samskaras, we could call it many, many things, but the entire art was a way of removing that from people so that they could realize their own true nature.
Okay.
It's the liberation path, the self-realization path.
Oh, it sounds so good. Really. It sounds peaceful. It sounds like you want to be there, you know? It reminds me of one of my favorite authors, Krishnamurti, you know. He's always I don't know what his name is, but it's Krishnamurti. He is always talking about the liberation. Yeah, he's Indian. So okay, so why is yoga such an old practice and still relevant for as long as I remember? I mean, it has to do with a little revival, right? Because since I'm a little kid, I've always heard of or witnessed some sort of yoga, you know?
So it's relevant because yoga is basically this, and I hesitate to use the word science because it's less concerned with research and more concerned with results. So yoga is a study of how to create results of human well-being and to make powerful beings, not people that are enslaved to their minds or to ideas or to anything, but actually liberated beings. And that's relevant in every era of humanity. And yoga isn't the only body of work that does this. There are others. Yoga is just a very effective one. It works for a lot of people.
Now that we know about the soul, mind and spirit and all of these things that they have to get together in yoga. Can you explain uh, each one and their repercussions in our daily life?
So spirit, mind, soul, body. Well, were there some other ones?
Mind. I mean, I'm sure there are, but those are the ones I knew.
Okay, so
This is
let's
for beginners. Remember, people, if you know a lot about this, like, but this is for people that have no idea what yoga is, and we have Rae here to tell us.
so let's have a look at mind, because this is the one that people suffer the most.
Mm-hmm.
So mind is basically a series of pictures that you have organized in different ways. Yeah, and by picture, I don't just mean like a snapshot. You also have all the sense perceptions. So your mind is recording constantly everything around you, and then it has like different filters on top of it. So for instance, you could be in your salon and totally alone, totally fine, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call from someone that you don't like, and they give you like some sort of bad news, and all of a sudden you'll feel like the space collapses around you. You'll start to get emotionally upset, and you'll start to like look at pictures of like past problems. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so in yoga we call this the mind field. And
the mind
that
what? Feud?
mind field, like think about
field.
like field. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's just a term that means the space of the mind, because your mind, it's not in your brain. Brain and mind are separate. The brain is like a like kind of a switchboard in a way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the mind is something else. And and there's many ways that we can show you that your mind is not here. It's pretty easy to do, but we'll save that for another time. The thing to understand is that what people suffer is generally their mind. The pictures that are in the past, the pictures of what they want in the future, things that are happening around them, whether they, like or dislike it, whether they think something is bad or good. This is happening all of the time. And it's happening in a way where the people believe that it's true, but it's not. But it's not. It's just considerations. It's just like these consideration that you're putting on every situation. And so you go to a situation where one person can have a wonderful time and be very joyous, and another person comes in the same situation and they find it upsetting and they have a terrible time.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? The difference is not the situation.
It's the interpretation.
It's the
Right.
mind. And so working with this is the most important part of yoga, and because the physical body is actually carried by the mind. So if we don't address the mind, you can work as much as you want with the physical body, but it won't change, and the person won't even continue. So the primary area of yoga is actually to address the mind and the emotions, because people are very emotional.
Okay, that's another question. Wait. Okay, so we talked about the mind, soul,
The
and
body is
spirit.
easy. The soul is a Western word. We don't really use it in yoga. So when we say soul, like we have to define words very clearly. The word that we would use would be Atman, which translates to spirit.
Okay.
So we would say spirit, and then you have different, like spirit is non-physical, meaning it's not in space-time, it's not an energy, it's not a vibration, it's not a frequency. All of these are physical things. It's not a thought, it's not a feeling.
Is not any of that?
It's not any of that. All of those are physical, measurable things.
Okay.
They're all things that have an existence in the physical universe, and spirit is none of those. It's a nothingness that can create something. You are a spirit. You don't have a spirit. You are a spirit that has a body, that has a mind, and that has some things that kind of carry over from lifetime to lifetime. So you are a spirit. And whenever you hear people saying my spirit, it doesn't make sense. Like my spirit, you are a spirit. You have a body. My body makes sense.
I get it.
Yes.
So you're thinking it comes from the ego. It comes from like I possess, instead of like we cannot even realize that we are possessed by the spirit. We are possessed by the spirit, like to make it clear, like not possessed, but we are part of the main thing of that creation, instead of like we control that creation. It doesn't make any sense. I got you.
Let me help you.
Yes, help.
So you are a spirit, Every other being is a spirit. All spirits come from a spiritual universe, which has different laws than the physical universe. It has no separation, no difference, no good or bad, no frequency, no change, no time. The spiritual universe is a different universe than the physical universe. The spiritual universe has is what allows the physical, is what powers the physical universe. And the confusion of this is why so many people have so much trouble. They don't realize their power as a spirit. You are able to actually create in the physical universe, but you don't realize it. You know, and that realization, that remembrance, the path of remembering what you are, continual remembrance, is yoga. Liberation means realizing what you are, because you're trying to liberate from something, which is the illusion in yoga called Maya of this physical universe.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. That's clicking on the little bell. Comment all you want. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like.
Don't forget to subscribe to grow the community.
And also, don't forget to follow our social media. And if you want to go ahead and share this video in all your platforms, share the love. Till next time!
Bye.